In primetime news this evening, government responds to concerns about Jamaican ship workers, plus the reactions. An attorney representing some of the ship workers speaks out, and what the opposition leader has to say about the matter.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News, both on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Herman Green.
And I'm Janella Precious. Also this evening, the business day, sports commentary, E-Prime and weather. But before the break, the feedback question.
Our question this evening: what are your thoughts on the government's response to Jamaicans on board a cruise ship seeking to return home?
You can share comments online, facebook.com/televisionjamaica and tweet us at televisionjam.
Please stay with us. Primetime News returns right after this break. Welcome back to Primetime News, and a special welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. The government has approved the return of over 1,000 Jamaican cruise ship workers who have been stranded at sea. The Prime Minister made the announcement at a press conference earlier this evening. Now, Dashan Hendricks has been monitoring the press conference and now joins us live. Dashan, what's the latest?
Well, Herman, that press conference is still in progress right now, and the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Honey, said that from the 21st of April, he has been having negotiations with the Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, trying to get Jamaicans returned home. And he said that during that time, he didn't want to come public to say to the country what the negotiation was, because he never had a final agreement with Royal Caribbean. But now that he has a final agreement, he announced it today.
On Friday last, RCCL requested a conference call to make final arrangements. This morning, I had a conversation with the President and CEO, Mr. Michael Bailey, and his team, and it was very productive. Despite postings in social media and attempts by third parties to mislead and confuse, the negotiations between RCCL and the Jamaican government continued in a positive way and has yielded positive results. Today, Cabinet approved specific protocols related to the re-entry of this particular ship, the Anthem of the Seas, which will repatriate the largest number of Jamaicans at any one time to date. We have now given approval for the Royal Caribbean cruise ship to arrive in Falmouth at noon tomorrow. This has been conveyed to our partners, Royal Caribbean Cruise Ships, and to the Port Authority. They will follow through the necessary maritime regulations to ensure the safe docking of the ship in Falmouth. The Ministry of Health and Wellness will create a sterile zone around the port to conduct testing. The cruise ship workers will be disembarked in groups of 200 every 48 to 72 hours, and after testing will be taken to the Grand Bahia Principe, where they will be accommodated. Persons whose tests are positive will be moved into a state quarantine facility until they recover. All others will be allowed to go home and self-quarantine for a further period to 14 days from the date of disembarkation. The home quarantine period will end 14 days after they disembark the vessel, providing, of course, that they test negative, which is a positive thing. Persons allowed to quarantine at home will need to consent to have their locations geofenced using smart technology through the Jam COVID-19 app, and to do a video check-in multiple times a day while in quarantine.
Well, it's not just the cruise ship workers from Jamaica coming home. Other Jamaicans are also applying to come home via the Jam COVID website. Here's the Prime Minister.
We now have over 9,000 applications on the Jam COVID-19 platform from Jamaicans who wish to return home. We are in the advanced stages of developing a home quarantine monitoring solution that involves the use of monitoring devices, and this will be integrated into the Jam COVID-19 mobile app. I want to spend a little bit of time on this. We will never be able to accommodate 9,000 Jamaicans who have applied on the app seeking to return, whilst there is still a requirement for quarantining Jamaicans or others who come into the island.
Well, the big debate over the last week or two has been about reopening the economy, and the Prime Minister made some announcements in that regard.
The current work from home orders will expire at the end of May. We intend to allow persons other than our vulnerable population, that is persons aged 65 and over or persons with comorbidities, we intend to allow all other persons who are working persons to be allowed to return to work effective June 1. Of course, all the normal infection prevention and safety protocols would need to be in place. The various protocols for factories, workplaces, banking halls, etc., are being developed in conjunction with the private sector organization of Jamaica. So let me just quickly summarize this position. From a public health standpoint, in terms of where we are in the progression of this pandemic, we are now at the point where we can say to our Jamaican workforce that you should return to work. So we will lift the work from home orders. Well, not lift is not, we will allow it to expire. So they come to an end at the 31st of May. So I want you to consider this announcement as notice that this will be done. During this notice period, the PSOJ, working through the Economic Recovery Committee, will, in collaboration with the government, will finalize what the new workplace protocols should look like. And this will give time for those protocols to be put in place. This is a further signal that the government is encouraging the smart return to full productive capacity. This is a further signal that Jamaica has to learn to live with COVID-19.
Well, the Prime Minister there talking about the reopening of the economy, also saying that he will also be looking at how tourism will come back. But today he made another announcement about cases of COVID-19 in Jamaica. There were no new cases in the last 24 hours.
I am very pleased to report that we have had no new confirmed case in the last 24 hours. And I'm also happy to report that four more persons were recorded as being recovered and released. This means that we now have 520 confirmed cases with 131 recoveries, and unfortunately, 9 Jamaicans died with the disease.
Well, Herman, there we have it. just about 380 people still have an active case of the COVID-19 despite 520 testing positive in the island.
Okay, good. And I just said that press conference is still going on.
It's still going on.
The Education Minister is now presenting, I believe.
The Education Minister has been
Minister
speaking.
Responsibility for Education.
Yes, and we'll be bringing things from him as we get it.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Dashan Hendricks.